Welcome to the mist-shrouded fields of Mississippi, 1880, where the sun barely pierces the heavy morning fog, and the echoes of the past linger in every breath. Today we step into a story that history almost forgot, a story of a family's survival against all odds, a tale whispered in shadows, recorded in fragile ledgers, and carried in the rhythm of footsteps that refuse to fade. Before we begin, leave a comment below. Tell me where you're watching from and the exact time you're listening. Share the moment with me. Share what it feels like to hear history breathe. Before we move forward, comment below. Tell me where you're listening from, what you feel as you hear this. Let this story breathe through you. Share your own echoes, your own connection to a past that refuses to be forgotten. The old cabin sits in the clearing, worn wood warped from decades of sun and rain, a chimney bent and cracked, smoke curling upward from a small hearth. The scent of scorched cane hangs faintly in the air, mingling with the damp earth and the early morning dew. A family emerges slowly, each step careful, deliberate as though the floorboards themselves might remember those who walked before. Hands calloused, faces lined with the weight of memory, eyes wide with caution and wonder. The ledger, brittle with age, rests hidden beneath a loose plank. Pages yellowed, ink faded, yet it speaks with a voice louder than any spoken word. William, fate unknown. Sarah gone without trace. The records mark them as missing, cold, clinical, indifferent. But folklore tells another truth. They say he walks still at night, carrying a drum only he can hear. Shadows stretch across the fields as if alive. The wind carries the faint thrum of footsteps, and sometimes the children swear they hear singing faint and haunting. A boy peers out from behind the cabin door, clutching his mother's skirt. His small hands tremble slightly. A presence brushes the edge of his consciousness, something unseen, yet insistent. The elders nod knowingly, silent. No one speaks too loudly, for the field has a memory of its own. It remembers the lost, the vanished, the drumbeat that calls them, always near, never gone. The mother bends low over the fire. Embers glow softly. She fans them with careful hands, each movement deliberate. The children watch silent. The smoke coils around them like fingers reaching from another time. The father steps to the door, scanning the horizon. Fog swirls at his feet, masking what may come from beyond. The earth itself seems to breathe, alive with history, alive with footsteps that never ended. Official reports tell one story, dry, factual, impersonal. The farm abandoned overnight. A family vanished. Fate unknown, the papers say. Yet the whispers in the community speak louder than any printed line. Neighbors recount nights of fire on the horizon. Flames licking the sky, shadows moving unnaturally, drums in the distance, their origin unknown. Some insist the family's spirits still march at dusk, across the fields, across the memories of those who survived. The children feel it in their bones, the rhythm that pulses beneath the soil. Faint at first, then rising insistent, a drumbeat woven into the marrow of the land. Each pause, each crackle from the hearth, each shift in the fog, carries meaning, lessons of survival, courage, endurance, and a story that refuses to end. Sunlight climbs higher, cutting through the haze, yet the shadows remain, long deliberate, draping across the cabin and field. Each plank, each leaf, each branch holds a fragment of memory, whispers of voices that cannot speak aloud. The ledger remains tucked beneath the floorboards, silent testimony. But it is in the children's eyes, wide, watchful, alive, that the truth persists. A rhythm rises from the forest, subtle then stronger, a drumbeat born of fact and folklore intertwined. It calls, it warns, it comforts. The father lifts the latch of the cabin door, pausing, breath held. He glances across the misty horizon, and somewhere beyond sight the footsteps answer. Somewhere the shadows move, always as they have, always near, never gone. And so, it begins. A journey into fields and forests, ledgers and whispers, embers and drums, where history and legend walk side by side. The ledger may mark them missing. Newspapers may call their fate unknown. But the drumbeat persists, and tonight, as you listen, you will hear it too. The footsteps of those who survived against all odds. The ghosts of Mississippi 1880. The family whose story refuses to fade. June 1880. Mississippi. The morning fog lifts slowly across the lowlands, revealing fields that stretch endlessly, dotted with remnants of a bygone plantation. The soil dark and heavy, still carrying the scent of burned cane and rain-soaked earth. Every step across this land is weighted with memory. The sun cuts through the mist in sharp beams glinting on the gnarled branches of oak and cypress. Shadows stretch long across the dirt paths, as if the past itself reaches forward. The cabin sits at the edge of the clearing, modest and unassuming. Wooden boards warped with age, the roof sagging under the weight of years, the chimney cracked and hollow, a structure that has borne witness to generations. A silent keeper of stories too heavy to speak. The family moves through the clearing, careful, deliberate, their feet sinking slightly into the damp soil. Each gesture precise, each glance wary. The children hold hands, eyes wide, listening for sounds unseen. A rooster crows somewhere in the distance, its call swallowed by the hush of the land. The mother carries a small bundle of clothes, worn and patched, the fabric thin but stitched with care. The father checks the perimeter, scanning the horizon where mist blends into forest. The wind stirs the tall grass, carrying with it faint whispers. Echoes of those who walked here before, whose names were never recorded, whose voices survived only in rumor and legend. Fact Freedmen's Bureau records mark this area as home to several newly freed families. Census sheets list names and ages, occupations, and household members. The pages are clinical sterile, yet the margins hold something more. A note scrawled in haste, fate unknown. A phrase repeated in ledger after ledger. The official record cannot capture fear. It cannot measure hope, nor the quiet resilience of those who rebuild from the ashes. Folklore. WPA narratives tell of spirits lingering at the edge of fields, of drums beating at night when no drummer is present, of a figure walking along the riverbank, eyes glowing faintly in the moonlight. These stories circulated quietly in whispers over the kitchen fire in the lull of night. They warn, they teach, they remember. The air is humid, heavy. The smell of wet wood mingles with the faint sweetness of honeysuckle. The forest presses close, trees bending inward as if to listen. Birds call intermittently. A woodpecker taps the hollow of a tree in steady rhythm, a sound that blends seamlessly with the imagined drum beats of the past. The children watch the tree line, imagining shapes moving behind the mist. Perhaps it is only imagination. Perhaps it is the past manifesting. The adults do not correct them. They know the land carries memory. Some things cannot be explained, only felt. The cabin itself is a study in endurance. The planks groan under weight. The roof leaks in places where the tin has rusted. Inside the hearth bears the scars of decades of fire. Soot stains the beams above. The walls are thin, the floor uneven. Yet this is home. The space where laughter and tears have merged indistinguishably over the years. Fact, the cabin's construction is typical of the period post-Civil War. Timber hand-hewn, nails forged on site, modest, functional. Folklore, yet some say the very beams hum at night. A subtle vibration, a rhythm carried from ancestors' footsteps. A warning, a song, a heartbeat of history. Beyond the cabin, the fields roll outward. Remnants of cotton and sugar cane, some patches already harvested, others left to wild growth. The soil bears the imprint of past labor. Footprints pressed deep into the mud, traces of plows long gone. In the distance, the river winds silently, dark water reflecting the morning light. Fact maps from the period indicate these fields were part of a larger plantation. Ex-slaves returned to work the land under sharecropping contracts. Debts and harvests intertwined cycles unbroken. Folklore stories persist of workers disappearing at night drawn into the woods, of songs sung softly by invisible voices carrying warnings, messages, or perhaps prayers that never reach the heavens. The children move closer to the river. Pebbles crunch beneath their feet. They pause to watch the water flow. Moss-covered rocks line the banks. Insects hum faintly in the air. The father calls them back. His voice low, commanding, yet gentle. The mother adjusts her shawl, glancing toward the tree line, ever watchful, ever mindful of what might emerge from the fog. Fact, local records show occasional reports of missing children, explanations vague, often blamed on runaway incidents. Folklore locals speak of a figure appearing near the river, half man, half shadow. The children's laughter sometimes draws it near, sometimes it retreats. The rhythm of its approach described as faint drumming, subtle, persistent, haunting. The wind picks up slightly, rustling the leaves. The cabin creaks in response. The family moves inside. The hearth is rekindled. Embers glow. The mother fans them. The children sit close, listening, learning, absorbing the cadence of life here. Fact documents show that these families often relied on oral tradition to pass knowledge. Stories of resilience, survival, and guidance. Folklore, these tales often included warnings of spirits of restless ancestors. A blending of lived experience with myth. A protective narrative to teach, guide, and remember. Evening descends slowly. The sun sinks behind distant hills. Shadows stretch longer. The mist returns creeping over the fields like a living thing. Sounds shift. An owl calls from somewhere deep in the forest. Crickets begin their chorus. Fact, the calendar notes, it is planting season. Work continues until dusk. Folklore, yet those who remain here speak of nights when the forest hums with footsteps. Drums echo faintly. A rhythm not entirely of this world, carrying the heartbeat of those who labored before, guiding the living, warning the curious, reminding all that some histories cannot be contained in ink or paper. As darkness settles, the family gathers by the fire. The father tells a story, low measured voice blending with the crackle of flames, about a man named William, fate unknown, about a woman lost in the fields, whose cries were never heard, about drums in the distance, calling, summoning, remembering. The children listen, eyes wide, absorbing both fact and legend. The pulse of the land, the memory of survival, the rhythm of the ancestors, all merging into a single living narrative. The night stretches long, quiet, except for the wind and fire. The mist thickens. The cabin stands steadfast, a sentinel over memory. And so the stage is set. Mississippi, 1880. A land of shadow and light, fact and folklore, loss and survival. The family within the cabin. The ledger beneath the floorboards. The rhythm of drums echoing faintly through fields and forests. Waiting for the story to continue. Waiting for the next footsteps to answer. Waiting for history to breathe once more. The ledger remains, tucked beneath the floorboard, its pages brittle ink faded. Yet every word pulses with memory. William, fate unknown. Sarah, gone without trace. The records state it plainly. Cold, clinical, unfeeling, But the cabin knows more. The walls hold whispers. The floorboards creak with echoes of footsteps that are no longer seen. The mother tends the hearth. Embers glow. Shadows dance along the walls. The children sit close, absorbing each flicker of light, each sigh of wind through the cracks. Their eyes wide, alert, sensing more than they can name. Outside the fields lie quiet. The mist curls over the cane and the cotton. Dew glistens on the leaves. A soft breeze stirs the long grass. It carries a faint vibration, a rhythm, irregular, yet familiar. It is the pulse of the past. Fact: Freedmen's Bureau reports from 1880 note disappearances across the region. Children, men, women, fate unknown, scrawled in ledger margins. The official word offers no comfort. It records absence, not presence. Folklore, yet in whispered tales among neighbors, they speak of a woman walking the fields at twilight, carrying a child on her back, singing a lullaby that bends the fog. Footsteps barely touching the earth, drums echoing faintly in her wake. The father steps outside, boots sinking slightly into damp soil. He scans the horizon. The forest line blurs in the mist. A bird calls startled, wings beating the heavy air. He knows this land too well. Every ridge, every tree, every patch of soil bears the imprint of those who came before, of survival, of fear, of endurance. The ledger may mark them missing. The folklore knows they never left. Inside, the children whisper among themselves. Small voices carried softly across the cabin, questioning, imagining, wondering. The eldest boy crouches near the door, peering into the mist. A flicker moves at the edge of his vision. He blinks. It is gone. Yet the rhythm remains. A soft tapping, faint, as if the soil itself remembers the march of those long departed. The mother pauses, sensing the vibration too. A tremor through the boards, subtle, persistent, alive with memory. Fact: newspaper clippings from the time describe fields abandoned overnight. Families vanished. No evidence, no suspects. Only empty homes and whispered speculation. Some said the exodusters passed through, leaving signs, markers, messages, records incomplete. Fragments remain. Folklore neighbors speak of drums sounding from the woods at night, unseen, beckoning those who listen carefully. A cadence that calls, warns, and remembers simultaneously. The rhythm of survival intertwined with the pulse of memory. The children step outside cautiously, dew soaking their shoes. The father's hand rests lightly on the eldest son's shoulder, guiding, protecting. The mother carries a small basket of food, each step measured, a sense of ritual in motion. Fact: diaries recovered from nearby homesteads record nights filled with mysterious sounds, unexplained shadows, drums in the distance, some dismissed as imagination, others documented with trembling hands. Folklore and the community insists these were the echoes of lost ancestors, marching, watching, teaching the living, reminding them that survival is not merely physical. It is spiritual. It is inherited. It is carried. A crow caws, breaking the silence, wings slicing the air. The children flinch. The father exhales slowly. The wind shifts, carrying scents of damp wood, scorched cane, and distant river. Shadows stretch unnaturally across the fields, and for a moment, time seems to slow. Fact: military reports note phantom regiment sightings. Soldiers reported hearing drum beats where no unit existed. Folklore elders tell of men in uniform who march endlessly in misty fields, never aging, never resting. Footsteps in rhythm with the earth, invisible yet undeniable. The mother stops to adjust the shawl over her shoulders. The children huddle closer. She whispers words that are part caution, part prayer. Stories learned from her own mother, her grandmother. Lessons of endurance embedded in every phrase. Fact oral histories indicate that women often carried these teachings. The stories of who survived, who vanished, and how to navigate the unseen dangers of the land. Folklore embedded within these lessons were warnings about shadows that moved when no wind blew, about drums that summoned or warned, about spirits that guided the living towards safety or destiny. The father kneels to examine the soil. Pressed footprints, shallow, irregular. The mist obscures the edges. He traces them with his fingers. A pattern emerges, not entirely human, not entirely explained. Fact, local survey notes of the time remark on unusual marks in the fields, ambiguous, often attributed to animals. Yet folklore insists they were the steps of those who had walked before, unseen, alive in memory, in rhythm, in pulse. The children follow him to the edge of the field. The river lies beyond, dark, slow-moving, reflecting the twilight sky. Moss-covered rocks line the banks. A single leaf floats by, carried by the current. Fact, some maps indicate this river as a landmark for runaway slaves and freed families seeking passage. Folklore elders speak of figures appearing at the water's edge, guiding the lost, warning the curious. The children watch silently, sensing more than they can articulate. The pulse beneath the earth, the rhythm in the wind, the drumbeat in memory. Night approaches. The mist thickens. The cabin glows softly from within. Hearth fire casting warm light through the cracks. Shadows dance along the walls. Fact census records mark the family present. Yet subsequent entries note absences, departures unexplained. Folklore stories persist of children who vanish, returning only in dreams, bearing messages, warnings, lessons. The living and the lost intertwined, teaching each other, reminding each other, surviving together. The father closes the door behind them. The fire crackles, embers rise. The mother hums a soft tune, old and familiar. The children listen, a rhythm forming in their bones. Fact, musical traditions of the time carried coded messages, warnings, and histories. Folklore, the same rhythm whispered across generations, echoes the drumbeats of lost ancestors. Guiding steps, shaping survival, shaping hope, shaping story. The night settles. The mist rolls over the fields. The cabin stands steadfast, its walls steeped in memory. Every creak, every sigh, every shadow speaks of survival, of endurance, of stories untold. Fact and folklore merge seamlessly, teaching the children, teaching us, teaching the listener. The ledger beneath the floorboards, the drum beats in the mist, the pulse of a family who refuses to fade. And so, the human scene is set. The fields, the river, the cabin, the mist, the hearth, the family, all converging into a narrative that carries both fact and legend. The rhythm of life and memory intertwined. The story of survival against all odds, unfolding, breath by breath, step by step, pulse by pulse. The night deepens over Mississippi. 1880. The mist thickens, pressing close to the cabin, curling around the trees and across the fields like living tendrils. The children lie restless on the floorboards, ears straining, listening, always listening. The father keeps vigil by the door, the mother near the hearth. The fire crackles softly. Shadows flicker along the walls, each movement exaggerated alive, each sound amplified. Every creak a story, every sigh of wind a warning. Fact, local records indicate that families in this area often vanished without explanation. A neighbor noted in his diary that the Johnson household was missing by dawn. Doors closed, hearth cold, belongings left untouched. Folklore. The elders whispered that the night carried more than wind, that the spirits of those lost walked alongside the living, that drum beats in the distance heralded both danger and guidance. Some claimed to see figures moving through the fog, half light, half shadow, uncatchable, yet undeniably present. The eldest boy stirs, crawls to the door, peers out into the dark, his breath shallow. The mist swirls, and for a heartbeat shapes form, fleeting, like smoke or memory. A flicker of movement near the edge of the field. Fact, military reports from the period document Phantom Regiment sightings. Soldiers noted hearing drums and marching sounds where no unit existed. Folklore. The tales speak of men who march endlessly in the mist. Their uniforms faded, their eyes hollow. Yet their presence guides the living. The children feel it in their bones, the rhythm pulsing through the soil, through their marrow, a cadence older than any living memory. A fire in the distance glows briefly, then vanishes. The father squints, questioning whether it is the neighbor's hearth or a flame conjured by memory itself. Fact diaries record sudden fires in abandoned fields, interpreted as accidents or mischief. Folklore locals tell of flame shadows, spirits appearing as flickering light, guiding those who know to follow, warning those who do not, teaching without speaking, shaping the night. The mother bends over the children, brushing hair from their faces, speaking in low tones, lessons, warning stories. Fact oral histories emphasize the role of women in transmitting survival knowledge. Folklore embedded within these tales are warnings about shadows that move against the wind, about drums that summon attention, about figures appearing near water or fields. The children absorb these lessons instinctively, their hearts synchronizing with the rhythm of the past. Outside, a sudden noise, the soft snapping of a branch, a brush against the cabin wall. The children flinch. The father steps forward, scanning. A deer, a stray dog, or something else. Fact reports of unexplained sounds, footsteps and movements abound in the region. No culprit identified. Folklore, some claim that these are ancestors, guardians, echoes of those who walked before, ensuring that the living remember the rules of survival, the cadence of presence, the rhythm of endurance. The youngest girl whispers, "I hear drums," her voice barely audible. The mother freezes, listening. The wind carries a faint tapping, almost imperceptible. Yet there, fact accounts in WPA narratives describe drums heard at night, unexplained, consistently timed. Folklore, the drum is symbolic, a heartbeat of memory, a guide, a call to attention. Those who hear must act wisely, heed the rhythm, follow the lesson. A sudden movement catches the eldest boy's eye. Shadowy forms between trees, moving just beyond clear vision. The father gestures. Stop. Do not follow. Yet they are drawn. Fact, soldiers recorded phantom figures in the fields, marching silently, appearing and disappearing without trace. Folklore neighbors told of lost souls, guiding or warning those brave enough to witness, of spirits leading children away from danger, teaching courage, patience, awareness, teaching survival. A distant cry echoes. The mother gasps. The children flinch. A dog barking, a child calling, or the whisper of someone unseen. Fact, contemporaneous journals note screams and cries in abandoned fields. Folklore. These are interpreted as messages. The living are meant to hear, meant to learn, meant to carry the rhythm forward. the pulse of memory, the footsteps of ancestors, guiding each generation through night and mist. The father lights a lantern, the glow weak against the thick fog, illuminating glimpses of the field. The leaves damp, the soil churned. Fact footprints discovered at daybreak show unusual patterns, interpreted by surveyors as human or animal. Yet folklore insists these are the steps of those who have gone before, teaching, warning, reminding, silently, persistently. Inside the cabin, the fire flickers, shadows dance. The children huddle, imagining the figures in the mist, feeling the rhythm of unseen drums. Fact, children of the time were taught stories as moral and survival lessons. Folklore. Those same stories carried warnings of spirits, restless ancestors, and the cadence of life and death interwoven. The pulse beneath the soil, the march through the mist, the song in the wind. A sudden hush falls. The world seems to pause. Every living thing holds its breath. The father steps to the door, gazing across the field. Shapes move, vanish. Shapes appear. Fact diaries and newspapers report repeated instances of strange occurrences. Folklore. Yet the community insists these are not accidents, not hallucinations. They are lessons. They are memory. They are survival encoded into rhythm, into pattern, into story. The mother hums a tune, low, deliberate. The fire responds with a soft crackle. The children lean closer, absorbing, learning, listening. Fact musical patterns conveyed coded messages during this period, warnings, guidance, and history transmitted orally. Folklore, the same rhythm aligns with the heartbeat of ancestors. Pulses with the drum beats in the mist, guiding, warning, and teaching. Night deepens further. The fog thickens. The cabin stands firm. The fields stretch endlessly. The ledger remains hidden, yet alive with memory. The drum beats in the mist continue, guiding steps, shaping choices, marking survival. Fact and folklore merge, indistinguishable, teaching the living, echoing through time, shaping the story that refuses to end. And so the rising incidents unfold. Shadows, drums, footsteps, whispers, flames, cries. Each a lesson, a warning, a pulse, a heartbeat of memory. Every movement in the mist, every flicker of light, every creak of floorboard resonates with survival, with endurance, with story. The family, the land, the ancestors, the ledger, all intertwined. A rhythm that refuses to fade, a story that persists. Breath by breath, step by step, pulse by pulse. The morning rises slowly over Mississippi. 1880. The mist clings stubbornly to the fields, dew soaking the long grass. The cabin stands firm, yet silent, as if holding its breath. The family moves cautiously, aware that the land itself carries memory. Every footprint, every turn of a branch, every ripple along the river is laden with echoes. Fact official reports show that exoduster migration patterns brought families across these very fields. Maps drawn in ink indicate routes, river crossings, temporary settlements. But the records are incomplete, names missing, dates erased, reasons left unexplained. Folklore elders insist that those missing are not gone, that their spirits walk among the living, that they guide those who follow. Drums echo in the distance, a cadence faint yet unmistakable, signaling warning, signaling presence, signaling survival. The children feel it. Their small hands tremble as they sense the pulse beneath the soil, the rhythm of ancestors who refuse to vanish. The father steps toward the riverbank, water dark and slow moving, moss clinging to rocks, reeds swaying. A figure appears momentarily, just beyond clear sight, moving fluidly, silently. Fact journals from the period recount mysterious sightings along rivers and forests. Neighbors puzzled by movement lights or sounds that seemed human, yet could not be traced. No one could explain. Folklore, the figure is described as a messenger, an ancestor guiding the living. Some claim it was William, his drum heard faintly through the mist, each step marking passage, each beat holding memory. The rhythm is instructive cautionary, teaching those who listen how to survive, how to endure, how to remember. Inside the cabin, the mother arranges belongings, patching worn clothes, tending the fire, her movements precise, almost ritualistic. Fact diaries and oral histories indicate that women preserved knowledge of survival through domestic practice. Folklore sewn into the stitches were warnings, prayers, ancestral lessons, embedded into the fabric as tangible as the land itself. Outside, a sudden rustle in the field. The eldest boy freezes, eyes wide. A shadow flits across the mist. Fact soldiers reported phantom regiment activity in similar fields, marching at night. No living unit in sight, drums heard without drummer. Folklore, the local community insists these were not hallucinations, that the lost walked alongside the living, teaching them to pay attention, to respect the land, to survive. A fire flickers in the distance, disappears. The father tightens his grip on the lantern, scanning. The mist swirls. Fact newspaper accounts mention unexplained fires in abandoned fields, attributed to lightning mischief or accident. Folklore, the flame is a guide, a presence, a memory manifesting. The lost reaching through time to mark a path or warn of danger. The children gather by the fire, listening, absorbing the rhythm of the land, the pulse beneath the soil. Fact musical traditions encoded lessons for survival, signals embedded in rhythm, songs carrying history. Folklore, the same rhythm resonates with drum beats of ancestors, guiding, warning, remembering, shaping the next generation. The river reflects a dim light, the mist swirling along its edges. A figure appears on the bank, moving silently. Fact maps and logs from nearby settlements note mysterious silhouettes near water. No human explanation found. Folklore elders say it is the ghost of a parent, a sibling, a neighbor, watching, guiding, ensuring no one strays too far, that the rhythm of memory persists. A distant drumbeat grows faintly audible. The father freezes. The children clutch his coat. Fact military logs report rhythmic sounds without any present unit. Folklore, the drum calls. It does not threaten. It instructs. It reminds. It is the heartbeat of survival. Each pulse a lesson. Each step a message. The cabin floorboards creak. Shadows shifting. The mother hums softly. A tune old as the land. Fact oral histories describe coded songs. Folklore, these songs carried memory and warning, teaching the children without words, embedding knowledge in rhythm and repetition. The pulse of ancestors alive. Night approaches. Fog thickens. Fields stretch endlessly. The ledger remains hidden beneath the floorboards. Fact census records mark the family. Yet future entries note absence, unexplained. Folklore, the spirits of the lost, guide the living, ensuring history is remembered, ensuring the rhythm continues, the heartbeat of survival unbroken. The children gaze toward the horizon, eyes wide, listening. The wind carries a faint hum. Fact diaries note that wind often masked sounds of drums, footsteps, or voices. Folklore. The hum is a reminder, a signal from those who walked before, guiding the living through night and mist, teaching resilience, endurance, vigilance, memory. The father moves outside again, lantern light quivering, the fire casting shadows across his face. Shapes flicker at the edge of vision. Fact eyewitness accounts describe fleeting forms near homesteads. Folklore figures of ancestors, half visible, marching, guiding, protecting, teaching, their rhythm intertwined with the pulse of the land. The mother gathers the children closer. Each listens, every breath in sync with the fire, the wind, the pulse of memory. Fact and folklore merge seamlessly, each teaching the other, each carrying weight, history, and caution, a living archive, embodied in rhythm, shadow, and heartbeat. And so the story unfolds. The ledger, the fire, the mist, the drum beats, the shadows. Fact and folklore intertwined. Teaching, warning, guiding, shaping survival, shaping memory, shaping story. Mississippi, 1880. A family enduring. A rhythm of ancestors refusing to fade. A story told through every step, every glance, every pulse. Breath by breath, step by step, pulse by pulse. The night deepens over Mississippi. 1880. Fog rolling across the fields, thicker now, pressing against the cabin walls. The trees sway, branches scratching faintly against the wooden boards. The children lie close to the hearth, listening, every sound magnified. The crackle of fire, the rustle of leaves, the distant call of an owl. A faint thump like a drum, irregular, insistent, alive with memory. Fact ledgers and newspapers of the era record a series of disappearances, families leaving without trace, homes abandoned, livestock scattered, no explanation offered. The official word, fate unknown. Yet every resident knows differently. The whispers are louder than ink. The shadows carry stories. Folklore elders insist the spirits of those who vanished walk the night. That drums echo in fields, that footsteps follow the living, guiding, warning, instructing, a rhythm older than words, older than maps, older than time itself. The father steps outside, lantern trembling slightly in his grip. He peers across the fields. Shapes form at the edge of perception, blurred, fleeting. The mist moves with them. Fact reports from neighboring homesteads speak of ghostly figures, indistinct, but undeniably human in motion. Folklore, local tales describe these figures as ancestors, draped in shadows, marching in rhythm. A cadence only the attentive can hear. The children feel it. Their hearts quicken, matching the pulse beneath the soil, the rhythm of those who refuse to vanish. The mother tightens the shawl around the youngest. Her eyes scan the tree line. Fact diaries recount families seeing lights in the distance, flickers moving against the wind, unexplained and recurring. Folklore. These were the flame shadows, manifestations of ancestors guiding the living, some to safety, some to lessons, some to witness. Each step deliberate, each flicker a message. A sudden thud, a branch snapping. The eldest boy freezes, holding his breath. A shadow moves near the riverbank. Fact military records note phantom regiment sightings in these fields. Marching sounds, drum beats, yet no soldiers present. Folklore, the stories insist that these were ancestors, teaching rhythm, instructing caution, reminding the living of the land's memory, guiding survival. The wind shifts, carrying the faint hum of a drum, closer, then receding. The father's lantern casts a glow that dances across the tall grass. Fact logs from local settlers mention hearing drums at night. No drummer found. Folklore, the rhythm is a heartbeat, a message, an echo of generations. Each beat carrying knowledge of endurance, vigilance, and history. The cabin creaks. Shadows flicker. The mother whispers to the children stories of William, of Sarah, of those who disappeared. Fact ledgers and census data mark absences, unexplained. Folklore, the drum calls them, guiding them, reminding them. Every story passed down, a thread in the larger tapestry, teaching both fear and courage, resilience and reverence. A distant light glimmers, a fire perhaps, or a memory. The mist twists around it, shapes shift, move closer, then fade. Fact diaries mention sudden unexplained fires in abandoned fields. Folklore, these flames are messengers, guides, warnings. The living are meant to notice, to follow, or to heed. Not all paths are safe. Not all footsteps lead to comfort. The children huddled closer, every pulse in their chest responding to the rhythm in the field. Fact, musical traditions, embedded lessons of survival, hidden within the rhythm of song. Folklore. These pulses echo the drum beats of the ancestors, guiding them, warning them, shaping their understanding of the land, of memory, of survival. The river reflects dim light, mist curling over its surface. The father peers across. A figure stands motionless, half shrouded, neither moving nor vanishing. Fact journals record silhouettes appearing near water. Folklore, these figures are protectors, watchers, messengers, ensuring the living remember the past. The rhythm persists. The lesson continues. Suddenly, a louder drumbeat, distant, approaching, irregular, insistent. The father freezes. Children clutch each other. Fact accounts note that drums signaled movement, caution, and observation among both soldiers and civilians. Folklore, the drumbeat is alive. Each pulse carries the memory of those who endured, who survived, who refused to be forgotten. Every beat a message, every rhythm a story. The cabin seems to breathe. Shadows stretching longer, walls trembling. The mother hums a low tune. The children listen. Every word, every rhythm embedding itself. Fact songs carried instructions, guidance, and history. Folklore melodies aligned with the pulse of ancestors, teaching survival, caution, courage, resilience, memory, endurance. The fog thickens. The trees bend with the wind. Shapes move in the distance. Fact settlers and soldiers documented figures moving in fields at night. Unexplained. Folklore, the ancestors are present, marching, guiding, warning, teaching. Their rhythm intertwined with the pulse of the land, the drumbeat of history alive in every step. The father closes the door. The children settle by the hearth, the fire crackling softly, embers glowing, shadows dancing along the walls. Fact and folklore merge, indistinguishable. Every sound, every movement, every rhythm, a lesson, a warning, a story. Mississippi, 1880. The family survives. The pulse persists. The story continues, breath by breath, step by step, pulse by pulse. The night stretches, infinite, yet purposeful. The ledger beneath the floorboards, the drum beats in the mist, the footsteps in the fields, all converging into a single living narrative, teaching, warning, guiding, shaping memory, ensuring survival, ensuring the story refuses to end. The dawn breaks slowly over Mississippi. 1880. The mist retreats reluctantly, revealing fields etched with memory. The cabin stands quiet, yet alive with echoes. Shadows linger along the beams. Every plank, every crack, every scar in the wood. A testament to endurance, to survival, to story. Fact census records show the family present, yet subsequent entries vanish. names left blank, fate unknown. Yet the ledger beneath the floorboards holds fragments of truth. Letters, notes, inscriptions, each a testament to lives lived, lives survived, lives remembered. Folklore, the elders speak of nights when the drum beats return, when shadows move through the fields, as if the past is not past. Guiding the living, warning the curious, teaching those willing to listen. The children have grown, yet the rhythm remains in their steps, in their hearts, in the way they move through the world. The pulse of ancestors still alive, still teaching, still shaping. The river glimmers faintly under the rising sun. Reeds sway gently. A bird calls. The wind carries a whisper through the cypress and oak. Fact diaries recount that these rivers were paths, routes of escape, markers for families seeking freedom or survival. Folklore, sometimes on quiet mornings, the figures of those long gone are said to appear, guiding children, guiding travelers, unseen, yet undeniably present. The rhythm of memory, of caution, of history. The cabin door creaks open, sunlight spilling across the floor, the fire long extinguished, shadows stretching in anticipation of evening. Fact, local records note abandoned homesteads, fields left fallow livestock untended. Folklore. The community insists these were not mere abandonments. They were guided departures, led by rhythm, by pulse, by the presence of those who walked before, teaching lessons of survival, endurance, and memory. The children, now adults in memory, recall the pulse beneath the soil, the drum beats in the mist, the whispers in the trees. Every sound once dismissed as imagination, now recognized as guidance. Fact, oral histories document the transmission of knowledge from generation to generation. Skills, warnings, lessons encoded in story and ritual. Folklore, the same rhythm pulses in those who listen, shaping choices, shaping courage, shaping the ability to endure. The wind shifts, carrying scents of damp earth, scorched cane, and distant river. Shadows move at the edge of perception. Fact, eyewitness accounts note fleeting forms, figures moving along fields and riverbanks, no explanation offered. Folklore. These are ancestors, watching, guiding, reminding the living of survival, of the land's memory, of rhythm. The pulse that continues, beyond ledger, beyond diary, beyond death. The mother's voice hums a tune, soft, deliberate, weaving through the cabin, through memory, through generations. Fact songs carried coded messages, oral histories, and lessons. Folklore melodies became guides, embedded with ancestral rhythm, teaching endurance, resilience, awareness. Each note a heartbeat of memory, each pause a warning, each refrain a story preserved. The father steps outside one final time, surveying the fields, the river, the trees, the mist lifting, yet lingering. Fact maps from the era mark the fields as former plantations, routes of migration, sites of absence. Folklore, the same maps speak silently of paths guided by the unseen, footsteps in rhythm with the drumbeats of the past, the pulse that ensures memory survives, ensures the story continues, ensures the lesson is carried forward. Evening approaches. The mist returns. The fields stretch endlessly. The cabin glows faintly from embers of fire. Shadows flicker. Fact and folklore merge, indistinguishable. Each sound, each movement, each rhythm, a lesson, a memory, a story. The ledger remains, drumbeats in the mist, footsteps in the fields, shaping survival, shaping memory, shaping the next generation. The children now carry the pulse, the rhythm, the echoes of ancestors, their steps echoing those long gone. Fact communities documented rituals and storytelling, Folklore stories that preserve the rhythm, that guide, that warn, that teach. The pulse beneath the soil, the drum beats through the mist, the lessons embedded in song and shadow. Alive, persistent, enduring. And so the story closes, yet never truly ends. The cabin remains, the fields stretch, the river winds onward. Fact historical records mark absence, presence, and uncertainty. Folklore, but the rhythm persists. The shadows persist. The pulse of those who survived, those who guided, those who refused to vanish, continues, breath by breath, step by step, pulse by pulse. Before you step away from this story, consider the echoes still present. What do you hear in the rhythm of the past? What footsteps follow you in the shadows? Comment below. Share where you are. Share the moment. Feel the pulse of memory, of survival, of Mississippi 1880, the family whose story refuses to fade, the rhythm that carries on, always, in every step, in every heartbeat, in every shadow.